Hey everybody, I'm Jack Reeder with Future Pastimes. I'm one of the designers for the expansions to Dune and to Cosmic Encounter. And in this video I wanted to talk about a custom variant that I'd created for Cosmic Encounter that's called Cosmic Dune, which is essentially a mashup of Cosmic Encounter and Dune. Now it is a cosmic variant, so it uses the Cosmic Encounter components, but it does have custom alien sheets, which are essentially the factions from Dune. It also had custom flares as part of my custom Cosmic Encounter set that I made, and it had treachery cards, which were not part of the Cosmic deck. So the way that the game worked was you had your alien sheets, and I'll tell you how it works here in a minute. It used lucre, which you call spice in the game, and each alien has its own ability. It also has a unique bidding power because you had a bidding phase that you would do as well. So let's kind of look at some of these, and I'll explain it in more detail. So we have the Atreides faction, Power of Prescience. As a defensive player, you may invite, any player you invite except a Harkonnen must ally with you with at least one ship. Whenever you win as a main player, you collect one spice for each of your ships involved. So kind of an interesting take on that. And your bidding power was you may look at the card that is being bid upon without saying what it is. So gotta keep that a secret. You also had a collection. So because we are using spice, and spice is used for a number of things in the game, at the start of your turn, Atreides collects 2 spice per planet that they occupy. And so it was nice to have an income. And you use the spice in a lot of the ways that you would use lucre in Cosmic Encounter, which is to buy ships out of the warp or cards from the deck, and also to add to encounter totals, as well as for the bidding phase. So you're buying cards there as well. So the Bene Gesserit here, Reverend Mother Gaius Helen Mohiam there, you have the power of mind control. As an ally, you may force one side to play a negotiate card if possible. If both sides play negotiate, you must be involved in the deal at risk of suffering losses. So a little bit like Dictator there. And their bidding powers, you may immediately trade a purchased card to another player for a random card from their hand. And then their collection was 5 spice plus 1 per planet that they occupy each turn. So they had a pretty good income as well. The Emperor there, Shaddam, power of the Sardaukar. Any negotiate card you play automatically becomes the same card as your opponent. You may also give spice to your ally. And their bidding power is any player purchasing a card must pay you half of the spice rounded up. You pay the bank. And their collection is 1 spice per planet each turn that they occupy. The Harkonnen, you have the power of treachery as a main player. Before cards are revealed, you may give 10 spice to an opposing ally and force them to switch sides. So that's nice for them. Whenever you win as a main player, you collect 1 spice for each ship from that player that goes to the warp. So really vicious. And their bidding power is when you buy a card, you get the next card for free, and the Atreides may not look at it. And they collect 2 spice per planet that they occupy each turn. Then we have the guild there. Edric, the power of hyperspace. You collect 1 spice for each player that enters the offensive end of the hyperspace gate. You do not have to pay to enter it. As the offensive player, after the outcome is determined, you may pay 10 spice to the bank to reposition the hyperspace gate. You're not required to take your turn in sequence. You may instead go between any other player's turns once per round. And then your bidding powers, before a card is auctioned, you may discard a card from your hand, but you may not do this twice consecutively. Collection 1 spice per planet they occupy each turn. And finally, the Fremen, Liet Kynes, the power of the Fedaykin. Your ships count double as allies, even for collecting rewards. Although when coerced by the Harkonnen, your tokens count normal. If your ally loses, you only lose half of your ships rounded up. You may also look at the next card in the Destiny pile in between encounters. your bidding powers, you may immediately give a purchase card to another player and receive 1 spice from that player. And they get 5 spice plus 3 that they occupy each turn. So they've got some dibs on there. Now the flares are different as well. So they're a little bit like a variant that was posted on the Warp and on the internet. So they're, instead of a wild effect, you have basically like an immunity or a nullifying effect against that faction. So if you have the Fremen flare and you're not the Fremen, you use the con effect. So the Fremen ships do not count double against you when you are a main player. And remember, flares, once their effect is resolved, they go back in your hand. So you're going to always have that immunity as long as you have that card. And if you are the super, you are the Fremen, use the super, you may cancel the first flip of the Destiny pile on any player's turn. So that was handy. The Emperor flare, when opposing you, the Emperor may not give his ally spice. And if you are the Emperor, you may enhance your side's ships after cards are revealed. So enhancing them is very similar to the spice styling in Advanced Dune. So you were able to, they didn't count as half, but you were able to spend spice to have them count as extra. The Harkonnen flare, against them, you need not pay the Harkonnen spice when he defeats you in an encounter. And the super, you may fill your hand with cards for another player's hand. Each card you take, you must replace with 1 spice. So there were hand limits in Cosmic Dune, which is important to know when we get to the treachery cards. The Guild. So the Guild flare, when the Guild pays to reposition the hyperspace gate, they pay you. And the super, if you are the Guild, as the defensive main player, you may pay 10 spice to reposition the cone after the outcome is determined. So yeah, normally it says the offense. The Atreides flare, the con is you do not need to ally with Atreides. They can't force you. And the supers, you may force your defensive allies to bring 4 ships into the encounter. So normally they decide. A little bit of classic crystal there, along with magnet. And then the Bene Gesserit flare was against them. The Bene Gesserit may not force you to play a compromise card as your ally. And then when you are the Bene Gesserit as an ally, you may make both sides play compromise cards, which negotiate cards were called back then. So the treachery cards, they were kept separate, and the auction itself included cards from the Cosmic deck and the treachery deck. So it was 50-50 with, if it was if players had full hands, of course, 1 fewer card would go up, but it would be from the Cosmic deck. So you had things like the Tleilaxu, which is you getting stuff out of the Warp. A Thumper here forced the offensive player to reposition the cone, which is what the hyperspace gate was. Water of Life, Exposed, the current card, up for bid. Weirding Way transforms your attack card into the same value as your opponent's card. Karama would prevent a player from using their bidding power. Truth Trance, and force a player to truthfully answer a yes or no question. That's an old effect. Cheap Heroes, defensive ships on a planet are not lost to the Warp. And then you did have worthless cards, Kulan and La La La, and et cetera, et cetera. So there were a lot of these different treachery card effects that could go into your hand and into the game. So that's Cosmic Dune. We played it a few times. It was always a hoot. We're all big fans of Cosmic Encounter and Dune, so it seemed like a kind of, I don't want to necessarily say it was a no-brainer. This doesn't occur to normal people, but for me, it was kind of a no-brainer. So, yeah, it was a lot of fun, and I may eventually try making a similar set. I'll definitely put one in Tabletop Simulator at some point. So for those people who are interested in playing Cosmic Dune, let me know, and I'll invite you in. We can try it out. It probably needs to be updated, but that might be a fun process for us to work on together. So there you have it. Thanks for watching this video. We'll see you again soon.